Some might say this is a little bit of an act of insurrection. Is that the proper term? Maybe it's a rebellion against the Galactic Federation. I don't know. Anyway, greetings. Hello, everyone. Come on in, you guys. I tried. I want to let everyone know, for those of you guys watching from the Galactic Administration, I put in my request for live stream access. Man, I don't know. It was at least 24 hours ago, and I haven't heard a thing. So we're just going to go ahead and roll with it. As you can see on the bottom of the screen, this live stream has not been approved by the Galactic Administration. So just watch at your own risk. What you see and hear here today may be held against you in a galactic tribunal. Coming to a neighborhood near you in 2025. And so greetings, everyone. Come on in. As I choke on my own smoke. Isn't that sort of a joke? They say, like, when you light sage in your when you light sage in your house and then you choke yourself out. Did I just choke myself out? As I choke myself out with my own smoke. Somebody out there is going to go, that's it. That's a confirmation. He's part of the Dark Alliance. I knew it. He choked on his own Palo Santo smoke. But anyway, come on in, everyone. Greetings to those of you guys that are joining us in the far corners of the galaxy. It's good to see you all. Yeah, thank you. Let me know where you are once again. I think we did this possibly a week or so ago. It may have just been a few days. For those of you guys that already know this, my concept of time is horrible, but come on in. Andromedan in the background says, is that device on? What's up? How's it going? Yes, it is on in the background. And right now what we're doing is a little bit of we're just doing some work on a feline around here, literally an actual cat. We're just adding a little bit of energy to that cat's current healing journey. That's all I'll say about it. And seems like it's helping. But anyway, it's good to see everybody here. Like I said, let me know where you're from. I'm very, very curious. Where did you find this? Where are you in the world right now? If you're on another planet, let me know. If you're stuck in a pocket dimension in low Earth orbit, getting monitored by the Black Knight satellite, let me know. Maybe we can make a call to Billy Carson and he can ask it to, divert its cameras over to Ukraine or something for a little while. I'm just kidding. I love Billy Carson. I saw somebody commenting, and I don't know who it was. Somebody mentioned Billy Carson. I think he's cool. I don't know. I'm past the point where I'm like super critical of like having to have every single thing that I hear or read on the internet be exactly true or fitting the opinion or the ideas of what I understand to be genuine or real. It's like I think that's one of the most beautiful things about our current human world is that there's an equal amount of bullshit, there's an equal amount of truth, there's a lot of light, there's a lot of dark. You know what I mean? And I guess depending on who you follow, they'll say, the light is winning, which is a beautiful thing. And I think, probably most likely in the end, isn't that what they say in the law of one? They inevitably turn towards light. But for me, I think we are at the stage of the human journey. And many of us have been talking about this, where we're about to see a very, very strange change in terms of kind of power structuring and, what we understand to be, light versus dark dynamics going into play on the world stage as we kind of work our way through the end of 2024. It's going to be a very, very interesting ride. We don't know what's coming up, right? But anyway, as you guys can already feel me kind of drooling on myself here, but greetings, everyone. Let's check our current locations. We got Mary H from Pismo Beach. Beautiful. Thank you. She knows this, but I thought she was in Arizona for like 2 years. I don't know how. We got Okie55. Welcome from Warrenton, Virginia. Thank you for finding this live stream wherever you are on the internet. Maybe you're on another timeline as well. But Warrior for Truth is in Ireland. I had no idea. Thank you for being here. Nice. Ireland. Dana's in Wisconsin. Okay. I remember Wisconsin. That was the only state in America back in the old, like old days. Okay, I'm dating myself here horribly. Back in like 2003 and 2004 when I was in a band and we went on tour, and a lot of you guys have heard this stupid story, but Wisconsin was the only state that I've ever been to where I went to it like a taco shop, like a pseudo Mexican kind of, Taco Bell-esque type of a place. And they gave me a soft taco with a slice of American cheese in it. And I remember at the time I was just like, like I was shocked. It was a shock. I will admit I actually ate it, but it was just like, oh my God. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's Wisconsin. Okay. It made sense. But I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but it's just like, I mean, if you were raised like 3 to 4 miles away from actual, well, I can never say the word Mexico. There it is. I have a hard time saying the just certain words that start with certain letters. It's like an instant stuttering thing for me, but here we go. Mexico. There we go. And yeah, so it's like it was almost like it was like what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I'll just say it was a fucking tragedy. But somehow it worked. I can't lie. It worked. So anyway, I guess I grew up kind of like a purist when it comes to Mexican food and like burrito culture, as they say. But anyway, sorry, needless information. Felicia Asherbranner's in Manila, Arkansas. How's it going? Kelly Dolan in I was going to say Northern Carolina for some reason. We have now transferred you to North Carolina. Congratulations, Kelly Dolan. You're in a whole new world. Donald Scoggins out there in the Virginia hills. Beautiful. It's good. It's good to see you, sir. I imagine it's really cold there now. We're at the stage in the Florida, world where it's like dipping into the low 60s Fahrenheit, which is kind of freezing. I'm just going to be real. It's literally freezing. But for other people in other parts of the world, they're like, "What, dude? I go swimming." You know what I mean? I walk naked through the streets in that weather as if, but you know what I mean? It's like it's nothing to me. But here it's freezing, dude, for real. For real. Somebody was in Kentucky. What's going on? It was Kathy Phillips in Kentucky. How's it going? We got Victoria, BC over there. What's up, Sam? How's it going? Hello, hopeful Artems. Listening from one of the many black deep. Oh, there we go. Deep sea abyss is currently inhabited by an incredible number of alien beings. Um, a fun story for another time that maybe Honora can expand upon one of these days if we ever get her on YouTube would be an experience that I believe both of us may have had within something that was like an underwater base that appeared to be made of an organic living being, like it was like a starfish kind of skin. It was like a giant, kind of like a giant living starfish, but it was actually an enclosure, and it was, I believe, probably some sort of a base. But it's hard for me to grab onto it at this stage. That was many many years ago. Actually, not many, but you know how time goes by. But it was profound at the time. Anyway, she has a lot more recall of that. Damn, Andromedans in Sweden. Greetings, greetings. I hear a lot of people are freezing out there as well. I don't know how I know that. I just, like you read Twitter and random or X and random things come across. Somebody was commenting up on like weather in that part of Europe or something. And anyway, greetings. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, I'm gonna scroll down to the bottom of the chat. But yeah, thanks you guys. Thanks for being here. Oh yeah, we got Nicole. Okay, so we got the Canadians. Oh my lord, we got Canadians in the house. Jesus. We got Don Rogers. How's it going? Good to see you, sir. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions starting out. I do have just a couple announcements for those of you guys that are with us here today. We're gonna be doing a couple little kind of Patreon based events in December, and one of them is kind of a first, well, it's not a first time thing, but I would call it more of a return to form in terms of a previous stage in which there's just different emphasis upon clearing and working with different things. And anyway, before I talk around it in a vague way, um, this December, I believe the last Sunday of the month in December, the 29th, in tier 2 within our Patreon group. And tier 2 is it's a $20 meeting. So, there's a charge for it for those of you guys out there that are interested. It's part of the $20 tier. But what we're going to start doing is a qigong routine, like a physical body clearing routine, and then we're going to be doing an energy clearing after it, which is something that we used to do back in the day. We did a lot of it. In fact, I don't know. Some people said maybe we did too much. Um, but here we are 2 years later, and we're back. And so this December 29th, I believe that's Sunday the 29th, we're going to be doing a little bit of just energy, physical energy, body clearing. Why is that a big deal though, right? Because like everybody does energy work now, right? You guys have heard this phrase, all you have to do is ayahuasca on Friday, and by Monday you're a galactic shaman, and you have your very own academy teaching people how to be galactic shaman. That's kind of how it is now. But what makes this any different? One of the things that I've noticed within our current, if you want to call it a soul group or a community, or just the social group of people that kind of surround and connect with our channel and a number of others, is rightfully so made up of a lot of highly intuitive, very professional level, very mystical people, lots of experiencers, many different forms of people and many different forms of service to the human, collectives, if you want to call it that. And so, everyone has a certain, area or an emphasis on things that they do. And I've noticed that for me, one of the keys in ensuring what I would call long-term success and growth in terms of the energy work that I do, which has absolutely grown over the past 7 years, like literally all over the world. You know what I mean? I'm not here to like toot that horn, so to speak. So we're not going to go down it, but it's just one of those things where it's like past the point of being an idea. You know what I mean? It's like past the point of being, I want to, it's like, whoa, now we're doing this. Okay. Okay. Now we're doing this. And one of the things that I think has greatly aided me within that process, which oddly enough is a lot of the feedback that I've received from the book, in the time since it's been out, has been, my emphasis upon qigong and clearing the body, and started learning how to work with, just physicality in a little bit of a different way. And the reason why I mentioned its placement within a larger community is because I just don't see or know anyone. And it's not that there's no one doing it, I'm just not seeing it. And that's not one of those like, you're not doing it, you suck statements. Because how some people will do that, they'll like casually shame you for not engaging in a thing that they think is important, that's really kind of marginal relevance to most people, but they'll shame you for not knowing about it. It's definitely not that. This is something that can greatly aid literally every single person that is watching this now, everyone that'll watch it in the future, literally your grandparents, your mom, your everyone in your family that got the like the I think we can say jab, right? Is that approved internet language? There's so much we can do. And so anyway, before I turn that into an epic rant, just one of the intentions that we have going forward for 2025 is that we're going to be kind of just working more within the physical body. For me, that's been what 2024 has been about. Like really, it's been about like real physical body, like real like opening detox pathways and multiple parasite cleanses, and more fasting I have done this year than I've ever done in my life. Literal physical training. I'm not really sure why. I'm not here to try to tell you it's like for some great plan. It just seems to work for me. You know what I mean? It's been the thing that keeps me emotionally healthy. But from another perspective, for those of us that are continuing to develop your intuitive and multidimensional healing, which is negative buzzword for the YouTube AI Archon. Sorry, I meant just, well, insert terminology here. But for those of us that are we'll say activating our energy, because that's vague enough. There are very few greater tried and true methods than physical body opening and the dilation that takes place within the meridian body when you start doing qigong. And so anyway, focus for 2025 is we're going to be getting a bit more physical. My prayer is some of you guys are going to be joining us on that journey. um what's cool is you'll be losing weight at the same time. You'll notice you'll get some of like the muscle tone back in your body. You'll start to perceive energy very, very differently. I'm going to be real. That is a byproduct of kind of everything that we're going to talk about here today. And this is kind of one of the few times in which I have some slides we're going to bring in a moment here, which is crazy. For those of you guys that know me, and there's a few of you in the chat that do, we've hung out outside of here. You will know what a taxing event doing classes are for me, and how it's like this love-hate relationship. It's way more love than it is hate. So don't get me wrong. But today was one of those moments where I suddenly realized I created slides for a live stream on YouTube, and I was like, what? It's like, you know what I mean? So you can kind of feel the cycle like returning, and it's like, oh, okay, time to start talking about these particular things again. And so we're going to talk about it. I also want to say this because I've just been noticing there's like an epidemic within our, if you want to call it community, or just people, the people that I know that I'm connected with, that all of us are connected with. There's a tendency right now I've noticed with people that follow a lot of disclosure topics. It's like expressing any form of disbelief in anything now is like a crime. It's like some kind of this like heart level transgression where you're like, boom, like you're like assassinating a person by somehow saying, I don't believe you, or I think that's fake, or that just doesn't, match up to what I know to be true. And honestly, I think that's a very, very dangerous mindset for people to hold. I think that the farther we go along, and if you want to call it a disclosure timeline or an awakening, or whatever new age buzzword title you want to attach to it, the longer we go along in this journey, the more and more you guys are going to notice the constant rehashing of the same stories and the same processes and the same games and the same terms and the same literal everything on a cyclical, almost like a timed loop that shows up every so often. And it'll be always having to do with themes of justice or overturning or light versus dark, or this constant like mind game that we've been inducted into that tells us that we must always be in a war, or there is always a conspiracy, or there is always some great danger forever looming over us, and we have to fight it. And the crazy thing about it is, a lot of times it's true. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, it's kind of the world we're living in. And then from another perspective, there's kind of like this, it's almost like an automatic setting that I've noticed many of us come into. And I think along with that automatic setting of, we must be constantly vigilant towards some form of darkness, or what we perceive to be not fitting in with the correctness of our internalized worldview. We have to hold some kind of constant vigilance with that. And at the same time, I think it leads us to become hypersensitive to any form of scrutiny, to any form of, well, do you have anything else to go along with that? Or is that, oh, you remote viewed it. Okay. It's like somehow in our world right now, in our social group, it's like that's all it takes. If you attach those words to it, and if you have enough people following you on YouTube, it's like, damn, you just redefined my worldview. And you're like, well, how, why? And it's like, well, look at all the people that are here. This one has 500,000 views, and there's 1,500 people in the chat, and all my friends liked it. And so uh, a lot of cool people shared it on Facebook. So it's got to be right. And in many cases, that can be true. But there's like this whole other layer of like control and like energetic projection, and like honestly just straight up literal bullshit that gets thrown around. And I think that we're, as we go farther along in the journey, it's critically important for us as a community of people who are becoming more aware of what is going on in our world. Like you go through the awakening journey and you realize, well, there's actually something very dark occurring on earth, and we go layer by layer. and uncover certain things. As we go farther along, like, discernment becomes more and more important. And I think that's one of the gaps that I don't necessarily see being picked up really right now. I think there's a lot more of a, like, well, that this matches up with what other people have said. Boom, case closed. So and so said they remembered me. Oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. It's a tricky road because in many cases that is also true, right? And there's a lot of people in the chat who have had that literal experience. And it's like, yeah, yeah, well, actually, as I understand it, that's my version of reality. And hopefully you guys are still with me here. That leads us to the question of the day or the evening. I don't know. Is is that the right word? That sort of leaves us to the question of the moment, and that is this: the frequency of truth. What is it like? How does it work? How do you know what's real and what's true? How do you understand, like, when you're watching somebody's YouTube video and they're talking about something really amazing and it has all the right terms and they hit all the right notes and they said all the right people's names and all the right pieces, and it's got to be real, right? It's got to be real. How do you actually know? How do you know what is real? How do you know what is true? Well, here's the fun part about it all, guys. That's something that's unfolding and changing and growing for literally every single person here. Everyone that watches this between now and in the, even in the future, if you want to go there. Um, the frequency of truth. How do we figure this out? And so, some of you guys that have been in our classes, you've seen this before. I have not brought it out for a long time, which is weird. That spirit, they're like, okay, time to start doing that thing that you did literally for years straight. Because it was, I'll just be real, even before I started working as a professional psychic in my previous career, I actually did teach. Man, I had to do, I won't say what the class was. Oh my God, I had to do this one class literally every Tuesday for 2 years straight. And it was just, oh man, after a while, you just start like, you just like, same thing again and again. But anyway, coming back to the present moment, the frequency of truth. How does this work? Well, understanding and developing our ability to discern the frequency of truth is one of the most critical aspects of, like, any part of this human mission, like understanding what is real. And as the energy body continues to activate, we will find ourselves inevitably. I do it, you do it, everybody does it. Unawares, totally sleeping muggles, they will do it. Everyone will. We get mixed up. What is mine? What is yours? What is the energy of the outside world? And I guess that's kind of where the even greater question comes up is, how do I know what I am hearing is true? And that in itself is a can of worms, because there are certain, well, there's many forms of truth. And for those of you guys that have picked this apart in your own life, you'll understand this in your own way. But there are certain immutable truths in our world and within the lives of each of us. What would be an immutable and undisputable true fact? Some people out there will know what it is. You guys can think of them, right? One of those would be, well, you're going to die, right? I mean, the physical body will expire. Immutable truth. We know it's real. We know it's going to happen. For most of us, you will know my name. I know myself, my name. That's an immutable truth. Even if you change your name at a certain stage, you know it to be yours. You know that to be the essence. There are many other forms of it. I had others preloaded before I came in here and they're skipping my mind, but you guys are going to know certain things in your world that, love it or hate it. That's how it is. I guess if you want to look at it from an American perspective, they'd call it death and taxes. Although, I don't know if you've been paying attention lately, maybe, Mr. Trump's going to make that go away, right? As if they would let him. However, I'm not saying that with cynicism. I pray that they will, because my Lord, that'll change a lot of things. But anyway, getting back to the matter at hand, there, like we said, there's certain things that we know to be true, and I think the act of learning and to feel into truths is really the biggest thing. And I would say when I look at the people that I've worked with over the past, I would, maybe we'll say in 2024, one of the things that I've noticed in terms of, things or abilities that are activating. And we talked about this in the book as well. It's been a thing that I've been noticing for years. But as we go through an intuitive awakening journey, there are kind of like timed places in the body that start to activate. It's different for everyone. And I know, depending on who you follow in the energy healing world, you might be indoctrinated with a very, very different idea of how this works. I'm only going by what I've observed, like, truly. For those of you guys that know, like, I've never took anybody's class, so I'm literally going by what I have observed. But there's sort of a timing when we go through an energetic or intuitive activation, and I would say in almost, well, I'll say this, many, many cases, one of the first places that activates is the intestinal pathways. And what happens with that is that we begin feeling things differently. We begin kind of like you did when you were a little kid, and maybe somebody would come home, or you would just know something was going on around you, and you guys know, right? You got this feeling in your gut. This weird feeling started to stir up, and we get it as adults, right? You guys know this. We get it as adults as well, right? What happens is we tend to deny it. We squish it down. And for most of us, that's going to be claircognizance beginning. And so I would say one of the easiest ways to begin to learn to feel into what is true is to notice the sensation in your gut when a new piece of information comes in. And for some of you guys, this is going to be really basic. And for some of you guys, this can also be a major turning point, because I think a lot of you guys are already very, very aware of the amount of bullshit that you're being fed. And you're also very aware of the amounts of truth. But it's like we don't necessarily know how to make sense of the differences. For me, at least, when I started this journey, the first thing I would notice was this feeling within my body. I am saying this as a person that works as a professional psychic who does this work up until this very day. When people come in and they're telling me things and I'm feeling them, usually for me, the first place it comes in is I just get this sort of feeling in my gut or my stomach or my, like here, and you're like, okay. And what I'm suggesting is that you weigh those feelings that you get in within the body against, what you know to be true. And for those of you guys that have ever practiced, let's say, muscle testing, for those of you guys out there that do muscle testing, let me know in the chat for those of you guys that have done muscle testing. But I think that's an even greater tool, which is basically what we're describing here. We're asking you to, look into things on a deeper level and to feel at a vibration in the body. Does it feel emotional? Does it feel energetic? Does it feel physical? What does your truth feel like? Next, move on to a piece of new information that you're unsure about and do the same thing. And this was something that was actually shown to me when it comes to muscle testing or feeling the vibration of a thing. And I'll demonstrate it with two crystals here, and you guys will see it on the little screen, I guess. But what I would do would take two objects. One object will represent myself, what I know to be true about myself. And so this will be that object. And then I will represent a piece of information. I don't know. If you want to get super basic, you'll say, I don't know, I saw this video and I received a really crazy piece of information and I'm trying to judge the vibrational quality of it. And I'll place that in the other hand. And this is a literal technique that you can use, and you will hold both of those things. And yes, you're going to be holding symbolic objects. So it asks you to open up your imaginatory pathways and begin to allow inanimate objects to represent pieces of information, which for some people is a big blockage. You really got to open up your imagination and allow yourself to feel, because that's where a lot of people get stuck. We get stuck in our imagination because we'll think that what we're perceiving can't possibly be true. We get stuck in the physical body because we've denied the sensation of truth or untruth within our physical body for most of our life. It's how we've had to survive, right? You guys, a lot of times we get an emotion. We feel a vibration, and emotion will come in, and then it might, usually the first layer of emotion has to do with something in your life. And so, we're trained to like push it down, right? Within the body. And so it's like there's a very particular type of magic that occurs when we begin to use representative objects, or what some people call in other types of healing, surrogates. And so what I recommend doing is, weighing two options. And this is the literal technique. You'll hold one in each hand, or even do it as if, there's nothing in your hand. You're just holding it out, and take a deep breath in and just notice what you feel. Take a deep breath in from your right hand, the one that you know to be true, that's holding something about you that, like, my name is Matthew. I was born on such and such, whatever, things that you know to be real. Notice that feeling. Grab onto the new piece of vibrational evidence, the person, and you can literally hold up within your mind's eye a vision of a video or an idea or a race of beings or something that another psychic told you in a reading. Hold that in your other hand, take a breath in, and ask yourself, really, 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 how do I feel? Close your eyes. Notice, do you receive any form of visual stimulus? Do you receive a color? Do you receive a vision? Do you receive fragments of a memory from when you were 14 years old and it was a random situation that has no bearing on this moment? Look into what that is. For most of us, when we first start diving into the mental body, and you guys have heard me say this in other places and other times, we have to work through multiple layers of your mental body when you go in. So usually the first layer is going to be something from your life or a bottled up feeling or an emotion. And those are the first layers of the energy field, which I'm going to be real. Most people don't ever push past those. Why? Because you go into that area within your mind's eye and you get all kinds of bits of memories and things, and it makes us uncomfortable, especially if you've had a lot of desires and weird things that are bottled up inside you. And it's like we get weird and we cancel it. And so I say, notice what you feel within your mind's eye. Notice an emotion that enters your body. Because for some people, we're going to pick up the emotion of truth. And I guess what I'm saying before I get stuck on the rant of this slide is that truth is going to come into your life in a number of different forms. It may come in as a visual vibration that you perceive within your mind's eye. It may come in a physical feeling that you receive within your gut, within your body. You might, how sometimes you guys have had this. Someone says something, you hear it on a video or a movie or anywhere in your world, and you get goosebumps, right? The hair stands up on the back of your neck, and your body tells you instantly, like, right? And it's like, that. But what happens, and what I've noticed within our community and just everyone on earth, is that there are very few people that talk about that beyond, the surface layers of, our day-to-day life. And here's the crazy thing. As you do that, it's going to get stronger and it's going to get weirder, and you're going to notice a sensation in certain parts of the body. You're going to notice that certain emotional themes will get brought up when you reach into certain areas or certain pieces of information. And that's just one of a million different techniques that you can use. Traditional muscle testing, for those of you guys that don't know, and excuse me here while wow, as my nose starts running. Um, Traditional muscle testing, at least the way that I was taught to do it, was when we will, sort of take, this is the example that I talk about in our book, which was the first way I was taught to do it. And even to this very day, I still use this technique in muscle testing. And so the idea, again, in muscle testing, for those that don't know, is that truth often holds integrity, it holds solidity, it has strength, it's able to hold up under pressure, right? If you put pressure on something that's true and real, it's probably going to be there afterward, right? I mean, when we look at the concept of it, when we look at our understanding of what truth is. And so the basic fundamentals of muscle testing is allowing the physical body, through a strong or weak response, to tell us if something is true. And so this is the way, or false. And so this is actually probably easier than the surrogate object kind of energy sensing. For some people, that'll be easier, but for this one could also be easier. And so sometimes people will muscle test you, and you'll stick out your arm and they'll press on your arm and ask you questions, but you can do it for yourself in a number of different ways. And so I'm just going to describe one of the most basic ways. And so you can hold out two fingers, and what you're going to do is try to create resistance when you close your fingers, which for some people is hard because your fingers are weak, right? This is not squeezing your fingers with your other hand is not a thing you do. So it's a good use. It's a good test of something that would be strong. And this was what I was taught. And so what you'll do is first ask yourself, like we did with the other exercise, something that is true, something that something that is strong in your life. A lot of people use their name, and you'll say your name. I'll do it with myself. And the idea is, as you're testing that piece of information, you're squeezing your fingers together, right? And what you're going to find is that when you test something that's true, and you guys do this at home with yourself, if you've never done this and this is your first time, and there's people that are watching who've done this their whole life in different ways, there's people that have been trained to do this in very different manners. Honestly, there's a woman that I worked with for over 2 years who does it with her tongue. She'll press her tongue up into the roof of her mouth, and a strong response is yes, a weak response is no. And so some of you guys know, but for those that don't, try it. Hold your fingers apart like this. Try to squeeze it with your other hand. Say your name over and over again. Take a deep breath in. Hold your fingers apart. Say your name. Matthew, 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 Matthew. Try to keep your fingers apart. Don't let yourself close them. Say your name. You'll notice maybe some strength, right? Now, show yourself a negative. Do the same thing over again. Shake your hand around. Don't put too much pressure on it because you'll wear yourself out. Work your fingers, hold them apart. Now say someone else's name. Try to hold your fingers apart. Close your fingers with your other hand. Squeeze them and say someone else's name. Bob, 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 or anybody. And as you do so, what you're going to notice as you try to hold them apart is they're going to close way easier than when you said your own name. Now, go back, try it again. Just test it really quick. Use your other hand if you like, and just say your name. Doesn't matter what your name is, just do it in your own way. Try to hold your fingers apart. You're going to notice way more strength, right? And so this is a super, super basic way to begin to test a frequency of truth. Why does this work? Why does this work? Because your body, the body already knows. The body already knows what's appropriate. It already knows what's true. A lot of us are already exchanging and using and sharing so much emotional energy from ourselves, from other people. A lot of times it takes a while for it to integrate into the mental body, and it's just hard to process all that because the reality is we're not taught from any perspective in this world how to actually find truth within ourselves. We are only taught to receive it from an outer source. If you even look at the fundamentals of world religions, right? It's that, oh, well, no, it actually comes from God or the church or the clergy or the priest. You know what I mean? That's where wisdom, that's where knowledge comes from. It can't be from this fallible human flesh, right? There's no way. It can't be this, but yet we have that ability, even though we've been taught our whole life. And so you can use muscle testing in a number of ways. You can do it in a bigger way and hold your arm out and try to press your arm down and ask yourself a question. And as you practice it, you're going to notice some of those questions. And this is a cheesy thing, but I literally do this. I'll ask myself, what should I eat for dinner? And I literally have sat here with Honora and we muscle tested it, and I'm like, okay, cheeseburger. It's like the mind will want it, right? But you'll muscle test it and your body will be like, yes or no. And so you can also do it this way. You can hold your index finger and your thumb out. Some people will do that manner and they'll try to squeeze it. And so the idea, once again, a strong response your body gives you upon, placing pressure and asking yourself a true or false question. Strong response is true. Weak response is no. Test it over and over again. I would say probably one of the more advanced kind of muscle body vibrational testing methods that I was shown, honestly, is kind of the simplest one of all. Seriously, like the simplest one of all. And that is stand up as straight as you can stand up, full posture. You know what I mean? Most of us are like this, myself included. Stand up as straight as you can and ask yourself that question. And this is the crazy thing. Once again, and you guys, a really cool way to practice it is to do it with food. And for me, that's been one of the ease over all these years. Like I will do that with food more than I would like to mention here. Okay, seriously, more than I like to mention here. But what you're going to notice is when you allow the whole body muscle testing, is that a yes response is going to be your body tilting toward it. You're going to be leaning toward a thing. A no response is going to be your body tilting backward. And in my opinion, I think that is a foolproof way because your body is going to show you instantly. You're going to bring a thought in your mind. And try this, you guys. I don't know what time it is where you are. Most of us are in the US, so it's evening. but based on where you are in the world, do it for breakfast tomorrow or dinner or lunch. Like stand there and go like, should I have this? And then notice which way your body leans, and then think, should I have that? Your body will lean backward. And so those are just really super basic ways in which you can begin testing the frequency of truth. Before I go on and on about it, um, which watch out, we will do. And yes, I will take questions in a moment. So please feel free to ask them. I've seen a few of them go by. Along with all this, let's say, I don't know, maybe if it's hard for you, what if it's not working? What if you like the idea of, beginning to test on a very simple method, vibrations of truth and information and things that you perceive and hear? And, before I move on to that, let me just say you can also do this literally while you're watching people on YouTube. I'm serious. Put on a person's video, a person you're questionable about. Listen to their voice. Watch them on your screen. Literally do this. Like, bring their energy into your mind. Like, is this integrity? Is this false? Like, what do I feel when I perceive it? Test it. Use your fingers. What I do actually is I'll just kind of notice. Does my energy bring it toward that person and their information? Or does the energy bring me away from it? And a lot of you guys are gonna, because like a real, smart people will be like, well, it's not always so simple, is it? Well, of course not. There's a lot more tied up in, within what we're drawn toward and what we're repulsed from that can be beyond, just straight up what is true or what is not true. But let's say, what if this doesn't work for you? What if it's really hard? What if you start these weird practices that this guy on YouTube's like, do this and your body will tell you what's true? Because I'm going to be real. Some of you guys are going to do that and you're going to be like, I can't tell. I don't understand it. Or you'll literally will get a wrong result. And you'll be like, wait, why? What are you talking about? I thought this was a foolproof method for your body to tell you what's true. Well, for most of us, it certainly can be. But let's say, what if you have a lot of trauma or a lot of uncertainty or a lot of chemical kind of toxicity within the body? What if you maybe you just had a lot of shit going on and there's a lot of built up stuff, and what then could you do? Well, there's also a few areas in the energy body that when worked with, and by worked with, I mean energy, I mean breath, I mean sound, vibration, when worked with will help unveil this frequency in your very own manner. Like I said earlier, these are things that I have been talking about for a number of years. And these are things that have been really big deals this year, maybe more so than, for a while, which is why I'm talking about them now. And then I guess I'll also say a very authentic and bizarre thing. These are also a lot of places that I see and hear in the faces and voices of people that I'm connected with. And I can hear that there's blockage in those places, and I can see that there's blockage within those places within the body. Like a true intuitive will look at me and also know where my blockages are. So this is not a superpower. Okay. When you study energetic anatomy, when you make it your entire life to begin to study vibration and to understand like the infinitesimal amount of all kinds of, layers of data that come through in those things, you're going to just get things way, way differently. And one of the things you learn along the way is you're definitely not the only one. There's a lot of other people that figure it out too in their very own way. But these are places that we constantly return to within the work that I do, within the work that I do on myself, within what I view within the massive community that I'm a part of. And so if you begin to devote time and energy toward learning about these places on the screen, it's going to change what you understand to be true. And so, number one, the vagus nerve. A lot of you guys have heard me talk about it a million times. You've heard it over and over again. And some of you guys haven't. The vagus nerve is a 10th pair of cranial nerves. And when you're trying to, like, let's say if you were looking for just the most basic kind of pathway with which you could start, let's say you want a starting point and you're like, I want to start learning about just one place because this dude's giving me all kinds of huge lists and all this shit. One place, start learning about your vagus nerve, the 10th pair of cranial nerves. That is your body's truth superhighway. Think of it like a fiber optic cable of communication pathways that connects with every organ. It works its way through most of your body. Well, not necessarily down to your legs, but it works its way through every organ in your body and a number of other places. And it's called the vagus nerve to refer to, the wandering nerve, because it goes everywhere. And I think it's one of the most blocked up places within people that have a hard time understanding what's real and what's true. Because this is probably, I think for most of us, this is the thing that vibrates. When you get that feeling in your body, and granted, it's not just that, because smart people are going to go, wait, what? You're saying it's just the vagus nerve? Come on. Because you know how there's always somebody that's like, actually, actually, it's so yeah, it's a lot more than that. But when you get the hair that stands up, on your arms and the back of your neck, and your body gives you this full body response, right? If the vagal tone is weak, if your body's worn down, if the parasympathetic nervous system is just jacked, you will not be able to receive that response. It's just the way that it is. And so vagus nerve work is critical. It will help you in so many more ways than just being able to perceive what's true. It's going to help for those of you guys that have autoimmune stuff, those of you guys that have like big anxiety, sleep issues, like hypervigilance. I mean, the list goes on and on. A lot of you guys know way more about vagus nerve than I do, so I'll leave it there. But one of the important things that it does is it connects with the intestinal pathways, or what maybe some other people will call the gut-brain axis. And that's the body's physical truth sensing system. When you get that feeling in your gut, when you see something online or you watch something on TV or whatever, however you partake of information, sometimes we get the full body response. Sometimes we get that feeling in your stomach that's like, fuck, or however it is. That's going to be the intestinal pathways. And so I would say if there was one thing where I'm like, if you just want to start learning about them. Like, really, start doing breath work. Actually, breath work alone will greatly, greatly strengthen your vagus nerve. And so, anyway, let's keep going. Secondly, I would say from an energetic, like from what is essentially from what is essentially a completely invisible, perspective. And a lot of you guys have heard me say it a million times, but do surgery on somebody's body, you'll find a vagus nerve, right? You'll find intestines. Will you find the crown chakra? No, you know what I mean? You're not going to find the Earth Star chakra, it would also because it's outside of your body, but you know what I mean? It's like so these are essentially the invisible places within the body, but crown chakra and Earth Star, that's the very top of the energy field and the very bottom of your energy field. And there's some real smart people out there that'll go, wait a minute, that's not actually, yeah, I know the crown's not really the top of your energy field. There's a whole bunch of other stuff up there. But I would say the entry point into the auric field, the little bubble of energy around your body, it's the crown. It's also your, technically, if you want to call it soul star, but they work in tandem. That's a conversation for another time. But crown chakra up at the top of your head, and earth star, which is underneath the bottoms of your feet. If those pathways aren't open, you're not going to be, number one, plugged into the physical earth grid, and number two, you're not going to be able to receive new information. So whether it be true or untrue, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come into your, quote unquote, energetic bubble. And if the crown chakra is closed, you're just not going to be able to perceive it. It's going to feel like, huh, what? Or you'll just instantly cancel it. A really good example of the closed crown chakra, everyone, would be people that are the staunch atheists, or people that are deeply entrenched in academia, and they cannot connect with anything invisible or anything spiritual. And that's not a dig on anybody. There's lots of brilliant people in our world that have that horrible problem, but you know, but that's what the closed crown chakra is. You can't take in anything new. You cannot perceive spiritual or non-physical, things in ways. And so we start opening those, and a whole bunch of new data comes into the body. Now, moving into the center of the body, the solar plexus and the throat chakra. I would say solar plexus because it's also linked with vagus nerve. It's also linked with the meridian body by way of the conception vessel, one of the primary channels that comes down the center line of the body. And so solar plexus is also power center. And when we're learning to not only project our power of your own truth, of what you know to be true and real out into the world, because we're also doing that. Not only are we discerning what is true and learning the immutable truths and learning how to weigh truth against untruth, we're also learning to, and for some people this gets a little weird, but we're also learning to impress upon the world that which we understand to be true and to influence this reality into forming that around our desires and our understanding of what is real in this world. So we are also affecting and creating truths or what we know to be true. And so when you really feel into it, it's an incredibly murky road. And one might look at that and go, well, does that mean that they're not, there's not one universal truth that binds all others? I don't know. I'm not here to give, like divinity to any of those things. I'm saying from a third density day-to-day perspective, these are the places that get blocked up. And yes, we're influencing and being influenced by our world at the same time. And so the reason why I mentioned the influencing factor is because as you strengthen your solar plexus, you guys, you become uninfluenceable. It just changes. It's not that you can't be influenced, but the likelihood that you will begins to change. And so people will impress upon, or they'll try to impress upon a person with a strong solar plexus. You guys have met friends and family. Some of you guys are like this. This is a sign of a strong solar plexus. People will come at them with all this stuff and be like, well, don't you know this and that? And this is how it really is. And this is that. And, they do this thing where they're like, no, man, it's cool. I already know, dude. I know it's real for you. Know what I mean? They have this certainty or this assuredness, and they're able to project that outward. Whatever the world projects upon them, they're like, well, yeah, it's like they're able to withstand or deflect the projections of other people's truths against their own. And so solar plexus is, a lot of people talk about it. Everyone's trying to understand it in our own way, but it's linked directly with your throat chakra. Goes right up the spinal column and connects with the throat chakra. So as we continue to join those two places, we're projecting our truth outward in terms of our own version of reality, and we're speaking that into existence by way of the throat chakra. Now, from the emotional body perspective, excuse me here, as I'm probably in need of a tissue, but I think we're going to be okay. But from an emotional body perspective, the thymic chakra, and I'd say the high heart chakra, which this is a place that, some people talk about it, some people don't talk about it. A lot of you guys have heard me say this. If you've ever been in the chakra class that we did every year, we didn't do it in 2024, but the thymic chakra is literally right underneath the tip of your collarbone, sort of right in between your lungs, which technically is just a little bit, maybe like a little bit lower, for most of us at least. And that, for those of you guys that know what it does, it has a lot to do with the immune system, has a lot to do with hormonal activity at certain stages of the body. It's part of the lymphatic system, I believe, technically, but from an energy body perspective, it's what we call the emotional or energetic microphone. And so we're picking up tremendous amount of emotional data from people within the thymic chakra. And so that's one of the places where other people's emotions get absorbed into us. So when we're being influenced by, other people, when we're picking up data and energy from the world, a lot of times as we're trying to figure out what's true and what's not, we can become overwhelmed with emotion, overwhelmed with a number of feelings. The thymic and the high heart chakra is that place where a lot of that will start to build. And for those of you guys that are here, I can nearly guarantee there's going to at least be one person right now who, when I talk about your thymic and high heart chakra, and also your throat, you're going to feel a lump. You're going to feel like, huh, weird. Do kind of, you know what I mean? I know it. It's okay. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just that's your body literally telling you, oh, actually, it looks like we do have some energy here. I have it as well. I would imagine I just saw Selena down in the bottom of the chat. A number of you guys are going to feel it just when we bring our focus upon it. And just understand that that's not necessarily a blockage, but what that will tell you is that your body's holding energy there. So what would that have to do with us being able to understand what's true and what's not true? If you're holding the emotions gathered from other people in your physical world, let's say if you're already a healer, let's say if you're already working with other people in some form or fashion, we could even say, check this out. For those of you guys that work in day-to-day customer service jobs where you're face to face with somebody and they come in your store, your place of business, and you feel all their shit and you're like, you just feel it. That's for most of us, that's also going to be your high heart chakra or the thymic chakra absorbing the quantities of emotional energy into your auric field. And so you guys are all, everyone, every single one of us is picking up energy in these places. And so, anyway, in a moment, we're going to tell you how to clear them. And some of you guys already know, but we're going to talk about two more places to talk about, and then we're going to check your questions. And so, the other place, which is, man, my God, a whole other conversation for hours and hours on end, that's your lymphatic system. Now, once again, I'm not trying to do this everybody should have known game because it's stupid and pointless. This is honestly where people like me come in the quest to understand what is real and what is true. There might be, if there was just, along with your vagus nerve, of course, a place that if you really devoted yourself to opening up and purifying it, you will even feel, I mean, the connections that you have in this world with people differently. The quality of well-being within your physical body will change. I can't even say the other word because I already said it earlier. That will change too. A bunch of things. It's your lymphatic system. And so everyone's heard of this before. Not everyone knows what it does, but it's your body's sewer treatment facility. And if it's just clogged up, it's like a fish tank and you can't really tell what's going on inside there. So when, let's say, we're trying to gauge an outer truth or even feel our own, if you have a lot of built up lymphatic stagnancy in your body, it's going to be very, very, very difficult to get a baseline reading of what is real and true from the start. And so, I probably should have put that at the top of the list, but if there was places that I would begin with, it would be the vagus nerve and the lymphatic system. And see, I think one of the reasons why people don't talk about those outside of the disclosure or spiritual communities is because number one, they're very physical pathways. And I think number two, in order to begin working with them and experiencing results, you actually have to get off your ass and start doing things. I'm just being real. You literally have to start moving. You have to start breathing. You have to begin to address, which is what we were saying literally like an hour ago now when we were talking about the Patreon group. You have to begin opening up physical pathways within the body. You have to start opening up your fascia. Which for a lot of you guys that are able to literally just feel something or walk in a room with someone and tell who's real and who's not and who's negative and who's positive, and I mean that sincerely. So there's billions of us on earth that can do it. You know what I mean? It's not a superpower anymore. You can do it. But if you were wondering, let's just say, how would I greatly improve that sensibility? Your lymphatic system will absolutely do it. And once again, think of it like a liquid layer of energy surrounding your body, within your body. The more clear it is, the more easier it's going to be to see what's, going on. Kind of like, imagine it's so much better to swim in, like a lake or a creek where you can see everything that's in there, right? At least for me. If the water is weird and murky, I'm like, damn, what's down here? Think of your lymphatic system like that, right? You see everything, you know what's going on. And so, lastly, and we shall move on after this, I promise. Lastly, built up energy or built up emotional energy in your auric field. Just straight up, just built up energy. Think of it like you're walking around inside of an invisible balloon of energy. And you know how sometimes after you don't open your doors and windows, or, okay, I'm going to make it needlessly weird and gross. Let's say you've been driving in your car for 10 hours and you're just in there eating weird snacks and farting and smoking in your car. It's going to be really gross, right? Seriously, I know it's dumb and weird and lame, but no, that's a perfect example of it. It's just like that's the auric field, and we build up with all kinds of energy. And yeah, I'm making it needlessly theatrical and lame, but like really, like for most of us, like the auric field gets built up with like really shitty thought forms, emotional wounds, things that we share with other people, environmental vibrations, what we pick up from the internet, what you pick up from your phone, EMF like vibrations, which would literally cause certain things to scramble around you. It's really wild. And so lastly, I would say also great culprit, just built up energy in the auric field. And so anyway, thanks you guys. We're going to show you one other one in a minute, but I'm going to look for some we're going to look for your questions. If you've already asked a question, please just copy paste it. Copy paste it all over again. Here's Mary Q or Mary H444. She says Q. Some teach that if you do body testing with a question and your yes or no are reversed, it means you are in reverse polarity. Oh, actually, thank you. Okay, so is if true, is there a technique to correct the issue? I will tell you my version of this, and I really want you to hold on to yours because I might have a very different understanding of this. What I have noticed is that for some people, they're going to be reversed, and that's normal. And it's really about understanding your body's method of gauging those frequencies that are coming in. And so for some people, right is going to be flip-flopped with left. For some people, kind of like some people will use a pendulum, which I don't recommend doing when you're starting. Sorry. I've talked about this in the book. I don't think it's a good starting tool for divination. For experienced people that have cleared a lot of emotional energy, it's amazing. But in the beginning, it can be very misleading. And so I guess my answer, Mary, is that that maybe that's their polarity, their bodies operating from the opposite, like perspectives or poles. And I would venture to guess, though, and this is my guess, if you were going to work with that, that's where I would turn to vagus nerve. And honestly, I would check for differences in pulse between the right wrist and the left wrist. Like in terms of how it feels. Is it punchy? Is it alive? Is it soft? Is it weak? Is there a change in vibration between the elemental quality that you perceive when you reach into those? You might find that one's weaker than the other. That could possibly have an effect, but yeah. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. Boom. What's up, Braden? 100 attempts? I saw your question mark. Yeah, 100 attempts referring to what? I'm going to reach down here and awkwardly get a tissue, everyone. I'm sorry. It was just going to happen sooner or later. Or we were going to do it on camera, but it's okay. Anyway, not sure to what you're referring, sir. Andromedan says, Matthew, how can someone go out of body? Man, there's a lot of techniques. There's a lot of techniques. I am one of those people that believes that most of us go outside of the body every night when we dream. In some cases, there's amazing techniques that will help people. I've noticed that everyone will kind of have their own version of it. It might be a little bit more of a conversation to get into in the now moment, but we will surely revisit that. Selena says, how long do you think this spiritual war is going to last, and will we have disclosure? Oh man, some of you guys are going to be annoyed by my answer to this. But really though, I'm just being authentic. I think that we come to Earth to experience this dynamic. As long as there are people living on Earth, as long as Earth is a third density planet, we will be on some level in a state of war, upheaval, conflict, or confrontation. In my opinion, and once again, I'm saying opinion because there's a million experts on YouTube, right? And they're like, this is how it really is. This is how it really is. In my opinion, we come to Earth to experience this dynamic, and it's part of the process of living in a realm of duality. And so I'm just going to say it plainly: the war vibration does not end on Earth, but you can remove yourself from it. And I believe that as we continue to grow and change and to progress in our soul's journey, there's a stage where the spiritual war dynamic, in my opinion, because I too have not reached this level yet. So I'm not coming at you from this like, well, let me tell you what it's like when you're in 25D. I'm not doing that. I'm saying this, we're experiencing it together. But I believe that as we continue to grow and change, that falls away and we experience other versions. Like maybe it ceases to be a spiritual battle and it becomes a different type of one. Because I think for some people right now in a different timeline that's also existing on earth with us in this now moment, it's a physical war. For some people, it's an internal war. For some people, it's a political war. For some people, it's an emotional war. For some people, it's a war within their own addictions. And then, maybe for us in this particular group, it's a spiritual war that we're living through. And so hopefully that makes sense. But to answer the other part of your question, which will also maybe annoy some people, I think disclosure has already happened. I think that we're living in it. Like this is it. This is it. It's happening. I think that there's kind of like sometimes like a over reliance upon the conversational topic of whether or not the government will confirm to you what you've already known. So if it's about like the government saying, "Hey guys, we have alien ships," I don't really. It's like I kind of almost don't really care if that happens, because I think for most of us, it's going to be a thing that's going to be uncovered naturally and continue to expand as we go along. That I think ultimately, in the end, it comes from people just breaking open this dam of information and experience. And then it's like it just comes out and it's like, well, yeah, yeah. And, one of those like 100 monkey things where it's like suddenly everyone knows. Because like if you've kind of looked at the path of the way the like congressional and government related disclosures have gone, it's nearly meaningless, right? It's nothing. It's just like little breadcrumbs. But what's going on with regular people is revolutionary. And so anyway, I'm over answering, but I think it's us. We're doing it together. I hope that makes sense. I saw somebody ask the question of what's the name of the book, and I just want to answer that because I noticed Aurora Diamond Heart posted it. It's called Remember Your Mission. What if you're not crazy? What if you're psychic? And I'll be real. It's get ready for the cheesy get ready for the cheesy part, you guys. It is actually a cool gift to give somebody, because if you have a kind of a misfit psychic in your world, maybe that's you. Maybe you're a misfit and a weirdo and you've been feeling all kinds of stuff your entire human journey. And I don't know. Maybe somebody told you you were crazy and you knew that you weren't, and you knew something was going on. I wish I knew something was going on. It took me having to fight through literally believing I was totally insane. Um, and then a whole bunch of other weird stuff to come to this stage where we are right now. But it's a cool option if you're looking for like gifts for the holidays. Um, for those of you guys that already know, I'm horrible at promoting my own things. So some of you guys that have been to our website have literally said, your book's not even on there. I know, I'm sorry. I have a major plan to update and revamp our website. It's just, it's just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. And I'm grateful that people keep booking. So thank you for those of you guys that do. And before we move on, because we do have another slide. We're going to do another one before we move on. You can schedule your own energy clearing, and we can look at this stuff in much, much greater detail on an individual level very, very effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a quick second here, and we're going to grab the next slide. So the question might be, for those of you guys that are still with us, the question might be, all right, so you're talking about a lot of pathways, sure, right? We're talking about a lot of pathways, a lot of gateways within the energy body. How then might we begin to open them? What sort of techniques? Because a lot of people will say, yeah, I'm willing to work on those, right? We talked about, your crown chakra. We talk about, places like the vagus nerve. A number of places. I'm trying to, as I'm saying this, some of you guys can tell I'm like looking around and clicking in the background, trying to get my screen my screen share to work. So I'm verbally, there we go. I'm verbally stalling so that I can bring in the next slide. And so how Let's say if you're able to identify and start testing your ability to experience the frequency of truth, and maybe it's not working the way that you thought. Maybe there's a lot of room for improvement. Maybe you believe that you have a greater potential and you're like, you know what, I don't know, something about the vibration that I perceive when I hear this guy talking about this tells me that, I don't know, for some reason I kind of want to try it. I'd like to be able to perceive truth on a different level, because you literally can. It's past the point of being some woo woo, like, magic ability, you know what I mean? It's past the point of like sci-fi movie stuff. Like that's going to be one of the most helpful things you will ever do when you really start stepping into the world of real intuitive activation, which is a hard thing to do, because when you do, you realize really quickly that you're working with energies and subjects and forces that a large majority of people on earth still don't even believe to be real. Like they still don't. There's entire channels and people within our community that have devoted themselves to childishly debunking just people who are psychic, literally people who are psychic healers. You know what I mean? It's like a weird fetish. And so, it's past the point of being a game. It's literally real. And how do we do this? I can tell you the way I do it. And I say this because there's many different techniques. There's a million different schools of energy work. I'm trying not to say a very pointed thing there. I won't say it. Anyway, how do we do it? I use a combination of life force energy, vibration, and capsule phrases, which you can see on the screen below, that will cause, very important keyword for those of you guys that have been with us in any of our other groups or classes. These phrases will cause dilation of energy centers. Dilation of energy centers, meridians, and the energy around your organs. And so I realize I'm like overemphasizing that in a seemingly needless way. But you guys, my experience in doing all of these crazy clearings and seeing all these people over the past 7 and about to be 8 years, if there's one thing that I have noticed that has worked time and time again, and I'm not saying it's like a miracle cure for anything. You can't even say that crazy word. I said it, the C word. It's nothing like that. That's insane. What I'm saying is that it will create an effect. It creates an effect. And so if you want to dilate your energy centers, capsule phrases will do it. And so when we start, well, what happens? When we start dilating and opening up these places in the body, energy begins to flow very, very differently. And that's a thing that I really need to stress, because for a lot of us out there, we've never really been taught about dilation of energy centers within the body. This is very important. At the same time, most people are going to be in the early stages of balancing chakras or aligning them, which is incredibly smart, incredibly useful, and you will never stop doing it. However, however, what you will discover is that when you begin dilating your chakra body, they immediately will snap into formation. And that's a little bit of a colorful description. There's really no snapping and there's really no formation, which is why I would also say that the concept or the idea that your chakras must be aligned is a little bit, I think, of a misleading thing. Because when you really start learning to perceive energetic anatomy, which every living person can do, you'll notice that people have a different alignment of chakras, meaning that they're not going to all be in a straight line. Some of them are kind of naturally larger than others. Some of them are going to be smaller based on a number of factors. Some of them are going to be more kind of jutting outward in the body. And honestly, some of them are literally outside of your physical body, yet they're still connected with the chakra system. And so, I'm not trying to come at from like a high horse place, but honestly, there's so much more to do than just aligning your chakras. And what we find is that when you begin dilating these places, that's when things change dramatically. And the reality is that upon proper chakra dilation, they will move into their own form of alignment. Now, We could say that there's more work that you can do after that, and that is 100% possible because you might have to. You might have to work with breath and energy and your own techniques to further kind of, align things on a little bit of a different level. But I'm going to be real, that's a much longer conversation for another time. Um, the key in the beginning is that we understand that dilation for most of us is the gateway to begin to experiencing these energies very differently. And so after a time, many of the things that you thought you knew and that you had built your identity around, and I know that's a big statement, but a lot of those things are going to begin to seem very meaningless. You're going to notice certain things in your world that you had relied upon in terms of what you knew to be true, or certain subjects or people that you saw as like, you know, just those that dispense truth in great quantities. You're going to begin perceiving them differently. And I'm not saying that that's a traumatic thing for some people, but every now and then, well, I'll just be real. For me, it was a difficult process because it really forced me to begin looking at all of these people that I begin to uphold as these, disclosure people, and these ones that were telling us the truth of how it really was in the universe and what was really happening. And I guess for me, that changed when I started to perceive things very differently, and I learned that, oh, so we also have the ability to view and connect with and to feel into the vibrational energy of these very things in our own way. And when I first started talking about that, people would give me shit for it. People would, they'd be like, "Oh, you're like a hater, or you're this, or you're that, or you're not following the narrative." But really, the message from the entire time was like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait. You can find out for yourself. Why don't you find out for yourself?" And I'm going to be even more real. Very, very few people want to actually do the work on themselves to begin to unlock the ability to perceive those things. When you do, you will inevitably come up against the areas in your energetic anatomy that I just talked about on the other screen. And inevitably, as you open those places up, it's just going to change. Many of the outdated beliefs that you had will begin to fall away, and you will feel truth or the lack of truth within the voices of others. You'll see it in the lines in their faces. You'll see it in their body language and their mannerisms. You'll begin to watch strange, strange things occur in the environment around you. And in some cases, it will feel as though you're losing a little bit of yourself, because as you begin to open up layers of true perception within the body, your world changes. And I guess the hard part that comes with that is that you don't go back. It's not a thing that you just turn back and it's like, well, I used to believe Ashtar Command was going to open up the gateway, and, like the Palladians were going to come through and bring us into 5D. And I was one of the 144,000 light workers, and I was waiting for, Trump to give me the signal to launch into the Space Force. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of us that really built our identity upon those early stage just things. And I'm saying that humorously and theatrically, but the reality is when you actually open up the deeper layers of energy in the body, there's going to be certain things in your life that you're going to look at and you're going to go, oh, yeah. I know, right? That was hilarious. I really was all in on that one. I actually thought the blue avians were going to take us to the inner earth. You know what I mean? It's like you will begin to see that. And for some people, that's a hard thing to go through. Technically, we call it a consciousness gateway, which we're all going to go through. Some of us linger at the doorways for a very long time. There's a lot of people who love them or hate them, and I love a lot of them. The be all end all of their human existence right now is a secret space program. Rightfully so, because it's a huge thing. But you're going to see in the coming years the people who are unable to move past that and integrate it in their life on a deeper level. You'll look back at them as you go forward and on and grow in your own journey and go, huh, I guess they're still doing that. All right. Anyway, on to the next thing. You know what I mean? And so that's a rightful thing to have happen. And that is the path of individuation. I think for those of us that are really, if you want to call it awakening or activating our energy in this life, that is the path of individuation. You begin to become a different, more true, more real version of yourself. And I say more because there's no finality to it. It's an ongoing process. But I think that's a big part of this Pluto in Aquarius thing, in that we're sort of entering the stage of the journey, especially in 2025, where it's like spirit and the universe smiles upon those who are willing to be bold and understanding and uncovering and exploring their own version of truth and the individuation of like who and what they truly are in this life. Those that are willing to be bold, to go against the grain, those that are willing to fight against the narrative that everyone swallows, just like they did with other areas, just like they did with, political stuff and pandemics, you know what I mean? Everybody swallowed a narrative there, right? And we ridiculed them for it. In other areas of our life, we swallow narratives and, you know, all kinds of channels of bullshit, and no one seems to bat an eye, you know what I mean? There's people that still follow it, that devote their entire lives to it. And, there are in every area of this world, but I think each of us, especially the people that are watching this show right now, expect more from the world. We know that there's more. We know that we're capable of more. We might not know how to do it. I certainly don't have all the keys. I guess I have one key though. You know what I mean? I guess we got one key. And so, but everyone does. Everyone does truly. And so what is the key that we have today? And that is how you can dilate these energy centers. A lot of you guys have done this with me in private sessions. You've done this with me in classes. But here it is on the screen. These are capsule phrases. A lot of you guys have heard of them. But I did write them in order. Let's say if you wanted to do a meditation in your own time, in your own manner, in which you would be working with the properties of sound and vibration and breath to help create dilation in your energy centers, well, one thing you could do would be just do a meditation tomorrow or whenever you feel ready and chant the following phrases. This may or may not come through on the audio, what I'm about to do, but I'll give you an example of how it goes. So we start with Maruva. And let me know if that came through audibly. I know there's a delay because I don't want to do it if it doesn't come through, but you will. You can chant them. You can sing them internally. You can chant them out loud. But the idea is that you're creating a vibration with these phrases inside the body. And the effect of these phrases is to create dilation of the energy centers, the meridians, and almost, maybe most importantly, the layers of energy around our organs. I think that's one of the untapped sources of just energetic potential for a lot of people that are going through an awakening journey right now that very few people talk about. Your organs are also going through an activation, or if you want to use the cringe buzzword, ascension as well. And so there's a pressurization that occurs. And anyway, using these phrases helps create dilation of the energy around the organs as well. And so I'll go through it here once again. Now that we know that it works, here we go. So you start at the bottom and you can focus on the bottoms of your feet and you go Maruva. And then you bring your awareness up to the belly button, up to the gut, right around the belly button. If you want, you can place your hands there. You breathe in and you do Chiro. However you choose, whether out loud or internally. Let that ring through the body. Bring your awareness upward, bypass everything, and go all the way up to your throat. Bring it up to your throat. As I'm saying this, I know a few of you guys are going to feel that lump in your throat. It's okay, because this is the phrase that you can use to help depressurize your throat chakra and also your thyroid. Okay, ready? It goes Hankaro. And as I'm saying that, I realize I misspelled my own capsule phrase because I did this in a hurry. It's hung ka ro, and you'll see it on the screen there. It says K. That's my mistake. Hung ka ro. And one of the ways that you actually help dilate the throat chakra is by stressing the like you're pressing it into the back of your throat. So you're going Hankaro, like you're grabbing the essence of the back of your throat and you're forcing it forward. And so after that, you can bring your focus right on down to the very tip of your collarbone. If you want, you can place your fingers there. Just place your hands right at the high heart. Breathe in and Rankaro, Rankaro. You can also do Rankeo. You can do K or Ka on that one. A lot of you guys have heard that before. But those are interchangeable from the perspective that and you'll notice there's a repeating in terms of like the sound forms or the phrases that we use, and that's because each one has a certain effect, or what I've been shown over the years is has a certain effect, and one of the syllables will have to do with targeting an area in the body and then instructing that area on what to do. So there's a few smart people out there that I think will probably figure out the structure of this very strange language in their own way. And then they'll immediately be confused because they'll notice that we also integrate elements of Sanskrit. And so as you vibrate your thymic chakra, which is going to help release emotional buildup from other people, after that, you could just go right up to the top of your head. And that's where we do Ogam Satyam. It's kind of a specific one, right? You don't have to do it exactly the way I did it, but that's the way I was trained to do it. And so I'll show you once again a little bit lower. Ogam Satyam. Om. And so that is an automatic crown chakra opener. Now, I'm giving you guys really like super basic little samples of how this works. We talk about it a lot in the chakra class that we do. We use these in our Patreon group literally every month. But I recommend allowing these, like if any of this works for you, these are going to be tools that you can use to continue to dilate and open your energy centers. And for some of you guys will notice the format in which we work. We start at the bottom, and sometimes we zigzag our way through the body, but we always close with the other side of the body. And so if you begin down at the bottoms of your feet, you will close up at the crown. If you begin at the crown, you will inevitably close at the bottoms of your feet. Now, having said that, I did see a question in the chat. We're going to get to it because it's a really smart question. Mary says, Maruva. I love it. Thank you. What's the meaning? So this is a long story, probably too long for here, but the origin of these phrases, well, it is talked about in the book, but I'll tell you the short version of it right now. The origin of these phrases came through a series of out-of-body experiences I had with what I believe to be a race of extraterrestrial humanoid beings. In the experiences that I had with these beings, I witnessed myself going through certain healing processes. And I also received what I believe to be a healing process from these beings as well. And in the healing that I received from them, and also, honestly, a couple other experiences in which I perceived their energy, one of the things that I noticed they did is that they would sing and sort of dance in ways that sound very, very odd. While I am unable to, really understand or even perceive the sort of tribal dancing they were doing, one of the things that stuck with me were the sounds that they were making. In one particular experience, I came into what I believed their world through a body of water, a very black body of water. And as I came out of that body of water, there was a circle of very old, very black, dark-skinned women, and they were chanting these phrases, and their voices were like in unison, and it was like they sounded very old. And when I hear it in my human mind, it sounds like a mixture of something Asian and kind of African, or just some other kind of, maybe just a non-earthly language, but they were sort of chanting them, and these voices like Maruva Yavura Duchi, like doing this sort of like rhythmic sort of chant thing. And when I started putting together material for a chakra class that I was going to do, maybe about a year or so later, those phrases came back to me. And anyway, super long story short, we've been using them ever since with literally thousands of people all over the world. Sometimes I feel cringe when I say that because another version of me will hear it and go, "Oh, yeah, whatever." Just because you did it 1,000 times doesn't make it magic. But what I'm saying is that what we learned over time is that there's an effect that occurs. And myself and many other intuitives and clairvoyants have viewed that effect, and we understand it to be an effect of dilation of the energy centers. And so the I guess the end, or the most recent development in that story was a few months back. Somebody put a comment on one of the older workshops on this very channel, and it was a person from Zimbabwe, and she claimed, or he claimed, that Maruva is actually part of an African language known as Shona. And so it actually has a meaning, and that means flowers or flower. I don't know if it's plural or singular. Is that the right way? Yeah, singular. Um, Flowers. And it's funny because when you look at, how are the chakras perceived by many clairvoyants as flowers that bloom within the energy body. And so for me, it was just like this moment. I literally sat on my couch and started tearing up and just going like, oh my God. Um, and so, um, yeah, it's definitely a real thing. Somebody asked in the chat earlier, I saw it go by. I did kind of mix up the capsule phrases. I do have them kind of mixed up. I want to say thank you for bringing my attention to that. I'm going to fix that right now because I want this to be correct for everybody that is here. So I'm actually going to fix them on the screen. And so let's see if it lets me do it. Does it? But yeah, Young Ka Ro. One of the reasons why you will see them different on the screen, and this is going to be for Chakra Class 2025, is we are experimenting with. Actually, yeah, it won't let me do it right now. Anyway, I was going to literally go into Google Slides and kind of fix that in the now moment, but it's Young Ka Ro. But one of the things that I've been doing in my own way over the past year is beginning to change the order and experiment with the vibratory changes that occurs when we use capsule phrases in a little bit of a different order. And one of the things that I did today, and actually, I'm going to find your comment. I think it was Kelly Dolan. I saw it go by earlier. This is probably subject matter that's too much for a YouTube live stream. But yeah, the original phrase that I would say I use more often than not is Young Ka Ro. And one of the things that I've been doing as we go forward is changing up the vibratory order in which I use these phrases, meaning one of the things that I've learned is that within the syllables in these phrases, there's kind of, like I was saying, there's a little bit of a different function. And what I believe is that the first, I guess if you want to call it syllable or word, will often be pertaining to a place in the body. I also think it might pertain to an elemental quality, meaning that in a lot of cases, I think it'll also come with it, fire, air, earth, or water. And so one of the reasons why these are changed today is because I've been working with them in a little bit of a different way. And um, this is a really smart question, Kelly. Like I said, it's probably for like advanced chakra theory class. But I believe when we change the order, we can change the intensity of elemental energy that is transferred through these phrases. And that might sound like a big statement, but like I said, I believe each one of them has a particular function. So I think some of them open, some of them create fire, some of them create closure, some of them create hardness. And anyway, so I don't get lost in the weirdness of it right now. I will leave it there. We'll talk more about it in the future. If you use the method on the screen, which I recommend doing, you can chant it exactly as you see it there, and you will still create an effect. But there's an original phrasing. Some of the hardcore multi-dimensional purists that have been with us are going to know it. But anyway, damn, Kelly, that's a smart question. And so, yeah, I believe that there is a structure to this language. And I believe that one of the ways in which we will uncover more of it is by understanding and experimenting with the order in which we use these phrases. And for some people that have done private sessions with me will notice that I literally just zigzagged through the energy body into very particular things, because you can use it also very surgically in your own way. I think really the biggest emphasis would be upon when you're using capsule phrases and scalar toning in your energy clearings. If there's one thing that I would not change, is I would always open or close the bottom or the top first. It's like you'll start at the bottom or you'll start at the top, and your final action will be to close the other side. So even if you find yourself moving back and forth through certain chakras or pathways within the energy body, we still seal it up afterward. And I think that's another thing I don't see a lot of people talking about within, like the milieu of energy workers, is, do we seal our energy field? Do you seal the energy of the auric field of the person that you're working with? What steps do you take to close their energy field? Because the reality is it's a permeable thing. Trauma can rip open your energy field. Belief systems can rip open your energy field. Energetics, or emotional attacks from other people in this life can tear open your energy field. And so we also take care with, closing it, and, not to make it too medically oriented, but kind of like they would do within a surgery, right? You'll take certain, precautions, not to bring your own issues and your own energy, i.e. the contagions, into that operating space. So, you will sort of quote unquote check yourself at the door. You'll also do your own self work, which is why I do Qigong before literally every single energy clearing session. But anyway, I'm kind of ranting on needlessly on the essence of your question, Kelly Dolan. Thanks for opening up a cool can of worms there. That was a smart one. But anyway, thanks, you guys. Let us know if you have any other questions on these things. And thanks for weathering what is probably far too much info for today. We definitely went on overload because I was going to keep it really simple. But for those of you guys that have been with us in the past, it's nearly impossible. If Matthew starts talking about energetic anatomy, it's like we're just going to go on a crazy ride. And for some people, they really enjoy it. Other people think it's cringe, I've been told. But Catherine Q says, does the octave or note matter when chanting? Okay, wow, Eve, that's also a very good question. Technically, yes. I think that one of the things that we have found, and there's people that are going to have a lot more information on this, is that each one of the energy centers, the organs, parts of the body all have their very own particular vibration and also note that comes along with them. And there's people that have done a lot of work in terms of discerning those. I, however, do not. What I have noticed, though, is that, and excuse me, I'm going to make it awkward once again. Thanks, everybody. But what I have noticed is that I don't put too much emphasis upon trying to create a note or a certain pitch. What I have noticed over the years is that my voice will take kind of its own natural kind of wavelength when I do these clearings. And sometimes, depending on the person, when we're working with certain areas of the body, it'll be really clear and resonant and smooth. And when I'm doing it, I'll notice that it comes through in a high register. And it's like, and what I've noticed over the years is that's often a sign that there's a little bit more resonance within a person's body or a little bit more openness. It doesn't really matter the register of the tone, whether it's low or high, so much as it is maybe the way in which it rings through the body. And I've also noticed that you'll be able to spot blockages when you're projecting a capsule phrase or a scalar tone, because your voice will change. And over time, what I've noticed is that I will, in a private session, I will, for those of you guys that have done this with me, you'll know exactly how I do it. But for those that, for the skeptics and people who don't understand such things, you'll be like, what? But when we actually do the energy clearing portion, it's essentially me using these phrases and, singing them into the body. We do it in a meditative state. Sometimes the people join me in it, but it's not so much about the tone. You will notice that when you're projecting it into places in the body, your voice might break up as energy moves. You might try to aim it at a part of a person's body. And I have had, this happens all the time, where it's like, oh, you'll be able to create a really strong ringing tone in certain places, and then I don't know, let's say I'll go toward, I don't know, the liver, and here's the liver phrase for those for those that don't know, it's Neyova, but then I'll go Neyova into a person's liver, and as you do it, it's like your voice will get tripped up, and you'll sort of feel this like eruption occurring, and that I've noticed is probably one of the most common ways in which I've found like a vibratory shift to be helpful. Because sometimes I'll try it again and it'll change, or sometimes I'll try it again in the same way and I'll notice the individual's body will respond, or they'll have tremors, or we'll get an emotion. And so I would say I use more the octave or the note or the register as an indicator of maybe resonance or blockage within the body, rather than I'm going to use an A sharp directly into her throat chakra. You know what I mean? That I think is probably beyond me. But there's some people that can. Maybe that's you. Because I would say go for it. I think that's one of the things that makes the capsule phrase modality truly otherworldly, is that it can be used in so many different ways. And I've just noticed over the years since I've been using it wholeheartedly with people is that it's, I think, a true example of a multidimensional form of energy because it continues to unfold. Here we are 7 years later, and for the first time in any class or any live stream, I'm talking about how I've been interchanging them and altered the order and the phrasing of these for literally the first time in 7 years. And so other people have also noticed, certain elements of it have changed. And I think that's a sign that something evolves when you have a living vibration that exists within, a frequency or an essence of something. I think it rarely ever stays the same. As more people begin to use it, it grows and it changes. And I've had people message me on Facebook and emails and say, "Hey, I figured out a capsule phrase. I think it is." It probably is, which is goes along with one of the understandings that I first picked up when I first started working with people's energy bodies, and that is, the idea that we only have seven chakras, or there's only so many pathways. And while that's true on a number of levels, one of the things we figure out is that you can actually create a chakra. You can create a chakra in a person's body just with your breath and your the focus of your energy. Along with that individual, you can create a swirling gateway of energy within the body. Anyone can do it. And so it's not so much that there's, this static structure, it's that we're learning how to form it and grow it and change it and evolve it. And anyway, that's one of the things. I think that's honestly one of the reasons why this still works years later. You know what I mean? Because there's something more there. And a lot of you guys know this, but it's not a thing I can trademark. It's not an IP. You know what I mean? These phrases are used by anyone, truly anyone. Anybody can use them. Anyway, I'm drooling wildly while ranting manically. I'm going down to the bottom and check your questions. Selena says, "Do you ever hear tones in the energy, like swirling in the ether? Recently, I've been hearing something I can only say is, oh shit, chaos energy. Wow." Selena, I believe you are absolutely correct in commenting on the chaos energy. It's funny that you would say that. You're remarkably tuned in. I have also perceived such a thing. I never cared about chaos energy. I never cared about that until the past couple, I'd say 2 weeks or so. This is certainly a conversation for another time, but I do believe that one of the movements or rumblings, or we could call deeper awakenings that are occurring on the earth plane in this very moment, have to do with the reawakening of, I guess, a kind of a cringe subject, the reawakening of dragon energy. Somebody out there is going to go, "Oh, no, seriously, chaos dragon energy." Chaos Dragon energy, which I think is a whole different ballgame than most people understand when we talk about dragon energy. Um, Chaos Dragon energy. You can look them up. Just start googling it. Start searching through, the internet pathways. Look up Chaos Dragons. You'll go on your own journey with it. You might find what I'm talking about. You might not. But anyway, to go back to your question, do you ever hear the tones and energy? Honestly, that was the first thing that I heard from the very first day that I started experiencing weird, crazy, like Kundalini activation, was when I did a chakra. Well, actually, that was like a day later. Anyway, I did a chakra meditation very, very shortly after that. And I noticed I could hear the chakras, which sounds insane. But yeah, I will definitely hear the tones in it. You will hear like kind of weird frequencies come in that are jagged and strange. And it'll be weird at first because, especially if you're using the capsule phrase modality, you'll understand that your own voice is the carrier wave for a lot of it when you're working with other people. And there's an interesting path of internal discernment that you'll go down in understanding when it's just your own voice and the vibrations of your body that are deviating from what you chose, or it's an energy that you're feeling from another person. And I say that because for me, that was one of the things that I had to begin to understand just organically. And it wasn't because I realized that I was aiming energy at people and using my voice to open it up. And it, you know what I mean? It was more really because I thought it was me. You know what I mean? I thought that when I was doing it at a person, I was like, "Whoa, my voice must have been really messed up. Maybe there's something wrong with me." But then I would move up into another place of their body, and I would use a different phrase, and it's like, "Whoa," and that one's crystal clear. But then I go down toward their sacral chakra and do Yavu, and I would try to push that energy through, and it's like you'll notice that your throat will get dry, or you'll just, like, you can't really push it through, versus like I just said. And then I would move upward, and I don't know, maybe I would go down to her Earth Star chakra, and I would focus on the Earth Star chakra and go Maruva, and I would notice it's like boom, it goes right in. It's rich, it's pure, it's open. And then once again, aim it up at an area where you think there's, a blockage. Use that phrase, and you'll notice this weird kind of vibratory shift, and it'll come in the back of your throat, it'll come in your body, it'll come through the way that your body expresses that phrase that you're using. And honestly, just over the years, I've noticed that's one thing that kind of just comes with the experience of it. And honestly, in going back to the thing that was on the other slide, we have to know ourselves, like true, like real knowledge of self. Like, where do I get stuck? What are my weaknesses? What do I hate? What do I love? What's my deepest desire? What's my worst fear? What's my worst shadow? What's my greatest character defect? Like where am I likely to get twisted up? What's my secret addiction? You know what I mean? It's like when you really know yourself, you will know those things, or you will be on the path to uncovering those things. And when we go down that path, it's like you'll find you'll do something seemingly unrelated, like projecting a vocal tone into a person's body, and you'll realize there's this whole other weird layer of information in there. And honestly, it'll blow your mind. And once again, in the beginning, you'll be like, "Oh, I'm probably making that up. There's no way it's real, right? There's no way. There's no way." I saw flat Earth and I clicked on your comment. UR says, "Well, on a flat Earth, we have to be cautious of what we channel into our system. Even our best interests can actually be manipulated through the influences of other frequencies negatively by hijacking." You know what's crazy is like the first part, it's like, yes. And then, yeah, but we're not on a flat Earth. Oh, sorry, bro. Anyway, thank you. Mary says, yes, that's right. That's a magical story. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, it's cringe now. I've told it too many times. And what's crazy is that I guess I have to keep telling it. It's just, you know what I mean? I think that happens to a lot of people that go through the experience or process and go public with what happened to them or what's going on, is that you inevitably realize you're telling the same stories like 100 times in a row. And part of that's the way it's supposed to be. Part of it is, the other things. Yeah, I saw flyers. No, that's okay. I mean, but see, the thing is, a lot of what they're saying is actually true. So it's like, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'm not, you know what I mean? What if it's possible that due to the myriad of timelines that we are all living on all at the same time, that some people on Earth are on a version of Earth that's flat? I mean, because if you're going to go into the truly infinite timeline concept, which I do believe is correct based on our, totally fallible and greatly limited human consciousness, I believe, and a lot of other believe that, there's infinite timelines. And so I guess it's possible, right? Maybe somebody in the disclosure community that's a staunch, believer is gonna unsubscribe to my channel because I just said that there was a distant timeline where there could be a flat Earth. Seriously, someone out there will be like, they'll click it like, God damn it, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I guess we got it. You kind of got to leave, a door open for it. I'll tell you this much. Okay, I'm just gonna be real. I'm just gonna be real. But most of us aren't. If you're watching this live stream and you're on a flat earth timeline, congratulations. In the next 3 to 5 years, as you continue to open, actually less, honestly, you could do this in 3 to 5 weeks. Start opening up these pathways within your body, begin chanting these phrases with earnest desire to be shown what is true and to open up the layers of blockage in your belief systems. And I say this with love and respect. You will come out on the other side of that. When you're done, you will see it very, very differently. And I mean this authentically. Eventually, you won't give a shit or if it's round or flat or a fucking diamond or like a asterisk. It doesn't matter. You still have to go to work tomorrow. We're gonna make dinner. You know what I mean? You're gonna watch the internet. People are gonna take a shit somewhere on Earth. You know what I mean? It's like, so what? The Earth is flat. Maybe. It's not. It's not. I'm just playing around. Thank you. Anyway. Well, says in the show Fringe, they had flat earth. I heard of that. I did not watch Fringe, but I have actually heard of that. I have heard of that. White Swan says there's many versions I agree with. Right? Right? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a diamond. Maybe it is. If you're gonna do the I believe in infinite timeline thing, then you have to leave room for it. You gotta leave room for it, dude. I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but it's true. If you're gonna do infinite timelines, you gotta leave room for the for the flat Earth. Anyway, we have 9 minutes left before we have our hard and fast cutoff. I've been made aware that the Galactic Federal Council of False Light is going to cut this stream off at exactly 2 hours. So we're going to do a few readings before we get out of here. Or let me know if you guys have other questions about opening up psychic abilities within the energy body, about opening up those gateways. We're going to be talking a lot more about it in 2025. But the first class of 2025 is going to be multidimensional tarot. But look for an announcement on that probably middle of December. We're almost there, but in the next week or two, I'm going to make an announcement on that. Because I think that's the first one. I'll be real. That's the one everyone asks for. You know what I mean? Literally, it's like number one class everyone asks for. Will they show up? Well, it remains to be seen. But we're going to do a little bit of multidimensional tarot right now. And my prayer is, well, actually, I mean, I know, but we're going to be seeing a few of you guys in the next few months because I think that one of the most important thing that you can do as an activating intuitive being is create a language through which you communicate with spirit, which is why divination is the second gateway of true psychic activation, because you must begin to learn to speak with spirit through a language that is understandable and communicable by you. And while, yes, the language of your internal heart and your mind is incredible and it's very useful, and as you open your energy centers that we just talked about, you're going to be able to perceive that with incredible, incredible ability. However, we also need confirmation at times in visual form when we're working with others, or maybe we need a different layer of energetic information. That is where divination comes in. And a lot of you guys already know. It's multidimensional tarot time. So we're going to do a few readings before we get out of here. We've got 7 minutes left, you guys. Hurry up, hurry up. Say it in the chat if you want a reading. Yes, there's an 18-second delay, and then you'll hear me say it. But we're going to do some readings. I'm going to grab the first one that I see says reading. It's Catherine Q. I'm pretty sure you were the first one, so we're going to pull a card for you. We're just going to do generals, okay, guys? We're going to do general readings today because we only have 6 minutes left. So here we go. Catherine Q. And anyone else that needs to hear it or see it, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and boom. What? Oh, man. We asked for a card, Catherine Q, and they gave you probably one of the most misunderstood and feared cards in the world of tarot. There's no mistake that it showed up, okay? Because you're going to see a devil card and you're going to go, what? Oh, God, what is he talking about? This is a good moment. Guys, lesson number 1, when the devil card appears in the world of tarot, especially multidimensional tarot, it's got nothing to do with Satan. It's not about entities. It's not about demons. It's about you. And I say this with love and respect. The devil talks about things that we do to ourselves, belief systems, vices, addictions, behaviors. And it's not going to be something that's necessarily going to kill you, right? I mean, look, if you stare at this long enough, you'll realize they're not going to die, okay? They're just trying to pull something out of a dark hole in which it will never be removed. And so this is why I like Robin Wood Tarot, because of how she designs certain cards. But Catherine Q, let's get back to your reading. When the devil card comes in, you're being asked to look at the self-talk, the internal dialogue, the ways in which you're holding yourself back or keeping yourself weak, or maybe a certain type of behavior or belief systems that you're holding on to that it's not serving you anymore. And it's not like it's going to kill you. But when we're stuck in a devil cycle in the world of tarot, and I'm not assigning that to you, I'm just giving you an example. When you're in a cycle of this energy, because each card can also be a cycle, maybe you're just getting a momentary example of it. Oftentimes, there's going to be something that you're doing that's greatly holding yourself back in this moment, or damaging yourself, or sometimes making you sick in some way. And so smart people will look at this and go, well, maybe I need to revise my understandings of this or that, or maybe I need to, stop smoking, or, I'm just giving you cheesy examples because it's a 1-card reading. I would say take from this that you're capable of more in the moment. And if you're willing to go through a round of hearty self-examination, spirit might show you a place in which you're just damaging yourself. And so the devil will only make you stronger when you use it right. Smart people will go, oh, you're showing me exactly what I need to change about myself. Well, thank you. You know what I mean? But other people will be like, oh God, no. So never get freaked out as I awkwardly drool here on camera, which will happen. Okay, here comes reading number 2. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. What? You had a cool name, and we saw you. Intuition Matters Unveiled. Whoa, okay. Thank you, Intuition Matters. I have a propensity for inventive screen names. So sometimes if you have a cool screen name, I'm like, what? Okay, cool. Intuition Matters Unveiled. Let's pull a card for you. Intuition matters incredibly. I've said this a million times, so somebody's about to cringe, okay? Get ready. If people knew how much in this world I did on pure intuition alone, they would either be really excited or really frightened. They'd be like, that's amazing, or like, oh God, really? One or the other, probably. But anyway, this is Intuition Matters. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Whoa. All right. Intuition Matters. Well, we have the primary divine feminine figure in the entire hierarchy of the world of tarot that just entered the room, the Empress. So honestly, if you want to get weird, this is the season to begin to look at your views and your feelings and your understandings of what power means, especially your understanding of feminine power. It's also a season or a time in which you will closely examine your relationship with femininity, powerful women, your relationship with your mother, the belief systems, the issues, the generational kind of stuff that you picked up from your mother's side of the family. You also might pay more attention to your left side of the body, any weaknesses or difficulties that you have on the left side, because that's the Empress's side, the left side. But you also might be from a, maybe from a different perspective, you might be at a stage in which you're learning to take full responsibility and control and ownership over who and what you are. You're redefining the elements of femininity within your body, whether you're a male or a female or a they, them. I'm not saying that humorously. Like you're going to be understanding your own version of what powerful femininity is. And so when the Empress comes in, it's like, yeah, it's a stage of ownership. It's also a stage in which we age. It's also other people in our life. And it's the strength of the femininity that is within you. And so, um, wherever you land in your current world, the Emperor will help you greatly change things. She'll help you break through cycles that you couldn't get through, but she'll also keep you stuck, and she can bring toxic, controlling archetypes into your life. But usually it's a good thing if you're willing to take full ownership. Just remember, you can't go back with Emperor and Empress. You can never go back. That's the way it was. You have to reinvent yourself in some stages. If things aren't working for you and you have Emperor, Empress, spirits asking you to reinvent yourself. And so we're going to do one more reading. Who could it be now? I don't know. It has been almost 7 minutes. I saw White Swan say that. It's crossing over into 7 minutes right now. As we choose, boom, Oki 55R, you're going to be our final reading for the night. I feel like we pulled a card for you another time, but even if we didn't, welcome. Thank you for being here. And this is for everyone else as we cross over into our 2-hour mark. This will be our last reading, and this is for Oki and everyone else. 3, 2, 1, and boom. What? Oh, God, you got the 5 of Swords. I'm saying that jokingly. Although some people would go, oh God, like really, So when you have a 5 of Swords in your life, you guys, this is for Oki and anyone else that needs to receive it. First off, I'll give you just the hard and fast of it, okay? And I say this with love and respect because I'm going to say it in a particular way. Stop caring about what other people are doing. Stop worrying about the shit that you think they're saying about you. Stop worrying about whether they love you or they hate you or if they're talking about you behind your back. And who knows, maybe you're the one talking behind everyone's back. I'm not assigning that to you. We're just looking at the myriad of possibilities that come into play with the 5 of Swords. But that's just what we do. 5 of Swords comes in and Spirit's going, look, dude, don't care about them. It doesn't matter. Your job right now is to look directly in front of you to understand that you've got some very powerful weapons in your hands. You could use them for good. You could use it for evil. You could stab someone else. You could stab yourself. You know what I mean? All the swords are very pointed and very sharp. They all talk about, verbal engagements, thought forms, the ways in which we sling ourselves at other people in our communications. And when you have 5 of Swords, it can be pretty unbalanced. It can be pretty jagged. But the 5s only hang out as long as you remain, focused on them. So honestly, and this is for everyone here, this is my prayer for you as we get closer and closer to 2025. Stop giving a shit about what everyone else thinks. Stop worrying about whether they're attacking you or who's, gossiping or, whatever it is, whatever word you want to attach to it. The antidote for a 5 of Swords is you remove your focus from everyone else who is essentially behind you now. And you focus on what's ahead of you. And so, anyway, I just said it 3 or 4 times in a row. Some might even say, maybe I'm saying it for myself. But, well, that's that moment where you're like, damn. But anyway, thanks, you guys. Thank you for hanging out. We're going to be back. Maybe we'll be back in a week. I don't know. Unfortunately, we lost the lease on the multidimensional trailer park. So I'm currently building a killdozer and we're just going to We're just going to mow it down, whatever it is. I heard they're turning it into a car wash. Can you believe that? They're taking where we had the multidimensional trailer park and they're turning it into a car wash. And so anyway, so I'll be doing some work in the metal shop out in Granby, Colorado in the meantime. But for everyone else out there, please do join us at the end of the month. We're going to be doing a tier 2 energy clearing over in the Blue Flame Collective on Patreon. And I'm pretty sure it's December 19th, in which we're going to be doing our monthly reading journey, which is $10. So if you want to join us, you will get a reading September 9th, or it's not September, December, Saturday, September 19th. Did I say September? Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. The third Saturday of the month. Anyway, there'll be more announcements, but you will get a reading. And so find us over on Patreon at Blue Flame Collective, or you can book a private session with myself or Nora. We do have openings right now. It's a good time to do so. And so if you need help getting yourself clear and just generating clarity and moving forward in your personal timeline, you can find us at rememberyourmission.com. In the meantime, please click the like button before you leave here. I'm trying to get to 7,000 subscribers sometime before 2030, because they say that's when we're going to hit 5D, and I need to make a good impression for the, the powerful elitist AI that's gonna that's gonna be taking control of our world. Anyway, we're making it stupid at the end, but yeah, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Thanks for being a part of this strange journey, and we will see you when our timelines intersect again. Stay real out there, everybody. Use discernment. Don't believe everything you hear, and I love you.